and hopefully pro. Oh my god, you just got here.
This is the game that I've been working on as a part-time solo indie dev for over 2 years now, where you return to an abandoned game project, only to find that the NPCs have kept working on the game while you were gone, and it's up to you to work with the NPCs to restore the game and the world they live in, or choose to plunge them further into chaos. I've also been recording my journey of working on this game the entire time, just to see how far the game has come along.
We're gonna do what we do in all of these devlogs, it seems, which is just jump straight into the updates for my game from this week. Oh my god. Okay, for some reason this devlog is cursed. That's why I look different. The audio came out weird the first time that I filmed this, then I deleted part of the video. I don't know, but I'm just gonna re-record this because I've already edited the entire video pretty much, and try my best to just match up my narration with what I've already edited. So this devlog is a little weird. I don't know, I'll fix it in the next ones, I promise. The last thing that I left off on in the latest devlog was working on the donation system in the game. So I had already set it up that the player could donate to these donation boxes to be able to rebuild the structures in the game. And the next thing I needed to do was set this up to work for the NPCs as well. So now if the NPC has the available resources in their inventory and they trigger the altruism goal in the GOP system that I'm using for the NPCs, then they will have a chance to pick the goal to donate items to a donation box that's nearby if they find one that's available. And then they will help contribute to building these little structures. Now everyone is slightly more useful, which is great. Then, after I finished working on this, I noticed an issue with the NPC system overall. Basically, I was testing this in isolation initially, and when I added it back into the entire system, the NPCs just weren't doing anything. They were just kind of standing there. And then I noticed the weather in the game. So this had been happening for a few days prior, but I kind of just chose to ignore it. I was like, well, whatever, that's weird. The weather was freaking out, and then I noticed that the time in the game was just going on perpetually. Basically, the day wasn't resetting at any point. And I was like, that's really weird because I haven't touched either of those systems in a really long time. Surely all of this can't be related, and even if it was, like, why is this donation system doing this? Turns out it wasn't related to anything at all that I had done super recently. It actually related to the dialogue system that I had mentioned I was updating in the last devlog. I had moved around the way that some of the files in that system were referenced, basically, and then never added this one line of code here, which is a null check to make sure that we just chose to ignore the fact that I'm missing a couple of the dialogue files at the moment because I was just too lazy to make them. And yeah, that fixed literally the entire problem. All of it. The weather, the time, the NPC system. Don't you just love when that happens? I also did some just like quality of life things as well. Now you can swap the items in your inventory, which before you couldn't. I was like, okay, if there are any more bugs in the game, I'm gonna just playtest a little bit and see if I can find them. So first thing I noticed was all of the NPCs, for some reason, like to congregate in the duck's house. I still haven't really fixed this one. And then I worked on adding in some specific actions for certain NPCs. So this guy, the beaver, is the builder in the game. And I equipped him with the task of putting down workbenches on the map when there are none at all. This is because basically if there just like aren't any workbenches, none of the NPCs nor the player can craft more workbenches. So there needs to just be an initial one that gets put somewhere if they end up getting destroyed. And I noticed after getting this working and playtesting some more that there was a lot of workbenches on the map. And it turns out that the check I was doing to make sure this guy didn't just go to town putting workbenches on the map didn't work, and it was getting a little cluttered. So I told him to chill, and the next thing after just, you know, playtesting for a while was I was like, what do I need to do next in the game? The answer was I just need to close the loop on all of the features, all of the gameplay that I currently have. And I wasn't really sure how to do that. You know, I asked myself the question like, the player has all of these things that they can do in the game at this point, but why? I still don't have a full kind of answer as to how I'm gonna fix this. I'll talk about it a lot more in the next devlog, basically what I'm doing to close the game loop. So the first thing I thought of just doing was I needed to up the stakes in the game because, you know, I have these stats for the player, but the hunger stat is not currently decaying, only because I just didn't want to have to be testing and continuously trying to keep myself alive. But you know, for the actual game, I think that this is what we need, what I want. So I set that up. Now your hunger stat will decay over time, prompting the player to have to look around the map and collect food, eventually, you know, craft better items that can keep them alive for longer. And then the other thing was the time in the game. As of how I had it right now, the time was just too long in the game. So I shortened the days a lot, and then I also started thinking about how I wanted to implement the end of the day for the player, because this game doesn't have a traditional kind of day-night cycle. What actually ends up happening is the corruption event, which right now is just kind of like spaghetti blood rain looking stuff that's falling on the map. The corruption event will happen after a certain amount of time in the day, and then everyone will just start freaking out, and your health will also start decaying over time, prompting you to eventually just either trying to keep yourself alive for a little bit longer or dying, and then the day resets on the player's death. So now there's a little bit more of like a survival aspect with this corruption event. You know, you can kind of try to keep yourself alive for a little bit longer if you're able to use your items well. And then this is all going to tie into a new thing I'm working on, which is this kind of panel that I'm going to be showing at the end of the day. And this panel will kind of be a way for me to tally up all of the things that the player was able to accomplish throughout the game towards making the game more stable. So things, you know, like working towards more long-term upgrades or fixing short-term little glitches, helping the NPCs stay alive throughout the day. All of those things are going to be kind of counted towards the score. Right now, it's completely arbitrary. I'm just making this number up. I'll figure out exactly how to calculate that later. So now you can kind of see exactly what the progress you made in the day was and how that's going to kind of contribute to the overall system of the game. And that's all I'm going to really kind of try to explain in this video. Like I said, in the next video, I'm going to explain a lot more the whole methodology of my thinking behind implementing this feature, if that makes sense, and how this is all just going to tie back into, like I said, closing the game loop. That is the goal for right now. Just wrapping up all of the systems and the gameplay and trying to tie them together so that way I don't get stuck in game dev hell. Okay, but that's it for this video. Like I said, I had to re-record this devlog way too many times, so we're just gonna end it there, and the next one will be a little better. Okay, bye.